This was the slogan of the day as hundreds of protesters of the Black Lives Matter movement in Staten Island, New York, were joined by city officials to paint street murals in solidarity to fight racial injustice in the United States.
If that was real, we would not have to be making a statement today like Black Lives Matter. Absolutely. And so this is bittersweet, but it's a wonderful celebration that is happening here on Staten Island.
No justice, no peace!
Since the killing of George Floyd, a black man in Minneapolis, Minnesota, by the cops, dozens of protests have been held across the country to call for an end to racial injustice and police brutality. Hence, the Juneteenth commemoration on July 19th this year was held with the same vibe. The day is significant for black people in the United States because that was the date in 1863 when African Americans enslaved in Texas were told they were free. But Texas slaves were not notified of their freedom until June 19th of 1865. Hence, African Americans have been commemorating Juneteenth since then to celebrate black freedom. But over 155 years since that time, blacks in the US are still struggling to regain total freedom. New York City Mayor De Blasio expressed his administration's commitment to fight racial injustice using legal instruments to protect rights of minorities.
We believe this is the first in the country, first any city, any state is doing this. We know it worked in South Africa. We know it worked other places. We should do it here. And that's what we have today. Amen. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. When do we want it? Now.
Staten Island Councilwoman Debbie Rose said the occasion is symbolic and demonstrates unity in the fight against racial injustice in the U.S., which has even claimed lives here in Staten Island.
This is a momentous occasion for Staten Island. This mural signifies how important black lives are. This is a first for Staten Island. We've been a part of the movement for justice. We right here had Eric Garner was killed by an illegal chokehold administered by Daniel Pantaleo. And so Black Lives Matters has a special significance for all of the community here who witnessed on video time after time Eric Garner saying, "I can't breathe." Black Lives Matter, the fact that this mural has to be painted is in recognition of the fact that people of color haven't acquired the kind of racial equity that we've been seeking. And so today, on Juneteenth, almost 157 years after the emancipation of slaves, where it was proclaimed in our Constitution that all men are created equal, we still have to have a mural that reminds people that all lives matter, that black lives matter.
Rose said the New York City Council is also reforming laws to promote police accountability in the interest of the public.
And so this mural is a manifestation of the energy and the anger and the angst that black people have suffered. And as a result, this mural has triggered all types of legislation. Every legislative body right now has legislation in to ban the chokeholds, to make sure that black and brown people get equal justice. And many of the police stations, the police departments that are guilty of not respecting the lives of black and brown people are now being talked about being reconstructed. Here in New York City, we're talking about reconstructing what the police department looks like and what it does. We, just yesterday in the city council, we passed legislation that codifies that it is illegal for a police officer to use a chokehold or any kind of compression on a person.
Majority of the protesters in the streets were youths, but some were whites who believe in justice and fairness. Others are youth intellectuals vying for political offices in the city who thinks if things must change, consistency must be the key for all protesters.
It's a beautiful thing to be able to paint Black Lives Matter, but it's also very surface level. We want to make sure that when this washes away, that Black lives still matter. So, in all honesty, when I could see the difference, the thing that can be significant and make a change is consistency. I cannot stress enough the importance of consistency. You know, we can protest and we can march every single day. But at the end of the day, if we are not consistent with pushing forward legislation, if we are not consistent with pushing forward the needs of our community, if we are not consistent with voting, if we are not consistent with filling out the census, if we are not consistent, then nothing will change. It takes consistency. It takes discipline. It takes truly understanding that this is a movement and not a movement.
As the murals were painted on the streets outside the Staten Island ferry by the Borough Hall, 120th Police Precinct, and the Supreme Court, the names of black men and women killed by the cops in the United States were called out loudly in solidarity as the fight to end racial injustice continues across the nation.
Yeah, right here at the 120.
We have quite a few. Ricky Bowden, Ernest Sayon, Derek Garner. Ernest Sayon, Derek Garner, Ricky Bowden, Breonna Taylor,
Sean Bell.
This is Alpha Kamara reporting for NYU TV in New York.